Welcome to the deep dive. This is where we take the info you send our way, articles, research, things you're trying to get a handle on.
And we basically pull out the core stuff, the key takeaway.
Exactly. It's like your shortcut to being informed without, getting totally swamped.
So today we're tackling something quite unusual that a listener flagged. It's about this digital character, goes by gov.f.
Right, gov.eth. They've been connected to a string of cyber attacks, mainly in Argentina and Uruguay.
Yeah, really stirring things up. Gob is another name they seem to use sometimes.
Okay. So our mission here is to figure out, well, who is this person or group? What's driving them? What kind of attacks are we seeing? And what does it all mean in the bigger picture?
And to do that, we're digging into news reports, but also, importantly, analysis from a cybersecurity expert named Alberto Daniel Hill.
Ah, Hill. He brings a really interesting angle, doesn't he?
Absolutely. He's a computer engineer, tons of experience, over 20 years in cybersecurity, but his background is unique.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, he was actually the first person jailed in Uruguay for hacking. But here's the twist: he was later cleared. He'd actually reported a vulnerability he found.
Wow. So he's seen this from both sides, in a way.
Exactly. It gives him this pretty rare insight into the hacker mindset, but also into how the legal system grapples with these cyber issues. It's often messy.
Got it. Okay, so let's start peeling back the layers on this gov.eth persona. What do the sources tell us?
Well, online, they present as gov.f, sometimes gob, claims to be 22 years old.
In the ideology, that seems pretty central here.
Oh, definitely. And it's pretty extreme. They self-identify as a National Socialist, or just straight up a Nazi.
No ambiguity there. That's stark.
It really is. And the source material points to some very disturbing rhetoric that goes along with that, the classic anti-Semitic tropes.
Like what specifically?
Things like the Jews control everything, or the completely false claim they just sacrificed Christ. And there's this weird admiration for Hitler, comments like, Hitler did very beautiful things in the world.
Yikes. So this isn't just random digital noise. There's a hateful ideology being pushed.
Precisely. And we saw this very clearly during the hack of Profil.com. Their website was defaced with these kinds of messages.
Right, the Perfil hack. I remember reading about that. Jorge Fontevecchia from Perfil called it technovandalismo.
Yeah, digital vandalism.
Yeah.
But like you said, the content suggests it's maybe more than just smashing digital windows. He also linked it to someone deep into all kinds of conspiracy theories.
Okay, but what about the why? The motivation seems confusing.
It does seem contradictory. So back in December 2024, there were those attacks on Argentine government sites.
Right.
The reason given then, just hacking for fun. They explicitly denied any political motive.
Just for kicks, basically.
Seems like it. But then you jump to the Personal.com hack a few months later, and suddenly it is political.
So the story changes.
Completely. Now it's about sending a political message and also showing how vulnerable Perfil's security was, how it was regalado, like wide open, a giveaway.
That inconsistency is weird. Is it deliberate, maybe? To muddy the waters?
Could be a tactic to confuse people. Or maybe it just reflects a really chaotic worldview, where wanting to cause trouble mixes with these extreme beliefs.
It's also strange how they reject normal political labels. Not Peronist, not left, not right, not anarchist.
Exactly. They push all that away,
Yeah.
but then explicitly embrace National Socialism. That's a very specific, very loaded choice.
It feels like a deliberate attempt to stand outside everything while latching onto something incredibly toxic.
Yeah, and that statement they made, something like, I'll keep hacking pages, keep hacking systems, keep doing everything until how my blood gives out.
Chilling. That sounds less like politics or fun and more like just destruction, pure nihilism almost.
It points to this really destructive impulse, way beyond just digital pranks. It's that modern online extremism thing, isn't it, where nihilism gets dressed up in ideology.
Okay, let's get specific about the hacks. The Argentina ones in December 2024, argentina.gov.ar, Meal Argentina, loads of others.
Yeah, over 20 government sites hit. And the method, well, it sounds almost embarrassingly simple.
How so?
It looks like they found a leaked login credential, but get this, it was from a government test page.
The test page? Seriously?
Seriously, and somehow that same login worked on the actual live main government website.
Oh, come on. That's basic security 101, separating test and live environments.
You'd think so. It suggests a real lack of, fundamental security practice.
Yeah.
And compounding that, no two-factor authentication, no 2FA.
Just a password from a test site got them into the main government portal. Wow.
It really highlights how even major targets can have these surprisingly basic vulnerabilities. Low-hanging fruit, as they say.
They claim they got sensitive information too, right? Though they said they probably wouldn't sell it.
Yeah, that was the claim.
Hmm.
And saying they did it for fun almost feels like adding insult to injury for the government security teams.
It really puts the focus back on the organizations being targeted, doesn't it? If security is that lax.
It does. And it connects to what experts like Hill sometimes argue: systems are left vulnerable. Okay, so then we have the Perfil.com hack, April 2025.
Right, the techno-vandalismo one. Different motivation claim this time.
Yep. This was framed as a political message. And again, pointing out the poor security, saying Perfil was regalado, wide open.
And the content was the nasty stuff. Anti-Semitic messages, insults.
Exactly. Anti-Semitic stuff, insults aimed at President Milei at the time, and a direct threat to other media, too.
Oh, yeah.
A message saying something like, today it was your turn, tomorrow it could be Clarin, which is another major news outlet.
So trying to intimidate the press, that definitely goes beyond simple vandalism.
For sure. It's about projecting influence, maybe trying to silence criticism.
And then just a short while later, the TV Ciudad attack in Uruguay. That one felt different, an escalation.
It really did. April 24th, 2025. Here, the tactics shifted. They used AI.
AI.
They deployed AI-generated fake images, compromising ones of top Uruguayan politicians. The president, Yamandu Orsi, the vice president, Carolina Case, even a mayoral candidate, Martin Lima.
Whoa. Deepfakes, essentially.
Pretty much. Generated fakes designed to embarrass or discredit them. That's a big step up from just defacing a website. It's weaponizing AI for disinformation.
That is genuinely worrying, using tech like that to potentially smear people.
Absolutely. And the message left alongside it was aggressive, too. It warned the Chamber of Commerce they were the next target if they kept oppressing Uruguayans.
And some taunts as well.
Oh, yeah. Things like changing passwords doesn't erase this shit already done. And a really sinister line after showing the fake AI images, warning they'd show the politicians as they really are next, implying they had real dirt.
Okay, that's serious. No wonder it led to a formal complaint.
Yeah, reported straight to Uruguay's Unidad de Delitos Informáticos, their cybercrime unit. That use of AI is a major red flag.
Definitely changes the game. Are there other targets mentioned in the sources?
A couple. The CMS, the content management system, for El País newspaper in Uruguay was apparently hacked. Gov.s supposedly confirmed this on Alberto Daniel Hill's podcast.
Okay.
And then there was an incident with Buqueves Turismo, a travel company in Uruguay. Their website got defaced with an anti-Orsi message. It's not totally clear if Gov.s was directly behind that one.
But Hill commented on it.
Yes, at Daniel Hill's handle, commented, pushing for more transparency about what actually happened there.
So it paints a picture of ongoing activity across both countries, hitting different kinds of targets.
Right. Not just one-offs. It seems more like a campaign, even if the stated motives jump around.
We've got that table summarizing the attacks, which lays it out clearly. The timeline, the targets, the claimed reasons. It's quite a pattern, even with the inconsistencies.
Yeah, seeing it laid out like that really highlights the shifting narrative.
So let's talk about Gov.f's own words, trying to get inside their head, maybe.
Well, we have these direct statements, right, which, as we said, are a bit all over the place.
The hacking for fun versus the political message.
Exactly. And the threats via TV Ciudad is confusing, a complex mix.
And then there are those more manifesto-like statements about their hacking philosophy, the embrace of Nazi ideology. It feels very performed, almost.
Deliberate, yeah. Even the deeply disturbing parts. And that line about hacking until their blood gives out, mixed with boasts about being careful and protected.
It's a weird blend of bravado and maybe paranoia.
Could be. And that preemptive warning they issued is really strange.
What warning was that?
Something like, if you ever see a news report saying I was killed or committed suicide in custody, know that it's a lie.
Wow, okay. That suggests a deep distrust of authorities, but also an awareness that they could get caught.
Definitely. It's bravado mixed with maybe a flicker of acknowledging the risks.
And speaking of risks and consequences, tell us about Vladdy.
Ah, yes, Vladdy. This is apparently a friend, a fellow hacker, who Gov.f says is now imprisoned in Uruguay for similar activities.
I think Gov.f seems quite upset about this.
Very much so. Based on the sources, they've been vocal, criticizing the justice system over how Vladdy's been treated.
Alberto Daniel Hill's podcast had more details on this, right?
It did. It mentioned Vlad's arrest in Uruguay, how sad and persecuted Gov.f felt about it. Apparently, Vlad's family even asked Gov.f to stop the hacking.
Really? So the family was worried about repercussions?
Seems likely. The podcast mentioned the potential charges Vlad faces, things like aggravated data violation, illegal interception, serious stuff, carrying maybe a 4 or 6 year sentence.
That definitely brings it down to earth, real consequences.
A stark contrast to Gov.F's sometimes casual hacking for fun attitude.
Yeah.
Gov.F also apparently expressed doubts about the evidence against Vladdy.
So is the Vladdy story genuine sympathy, do you think? Or is it being used to prop up this anti-establishment narrative Gov.F is building?
It's hard to say for sure, probably a bit of both. But either way, it highlights that these aren't just abstract digital actions. People get arrested, face prison time.
This is where Alberto Daniel Hill's perspective becomes really valuable, isn't it?
Absolutely. His own history, being jailed, then cleared, gives him such a unique lens on all this. It's not just theoretical for him.
He wrote about it in his book, Operation Bitcoin's Log into Hell, so he's lived the sharp end of cyber-related legal trouble.
Exactly. And through his podcast, Cyber Midnight Club, and his Twitter, at Daniel Hill, he offers analysis. He seems to differentiate between, say, purely financially motivated cybercrime and hacktivism.
And where does he place Gov.F?
It's subtle, but he might see Gov.F's actions, despite the awful ideology, as partly fitting that hacktivist mold. Exposing weaknesses, challenging the system, even if the message itself is repugnant.
He's commented on specific hacks, like Bukiba's, calling for transparency.
Right. And he's been very critical of what he sees as broader cybersecurity failures in Uruguay, citing things like a hack at the National Intelligence Directorate, DNIC, or data from the Ministry of Defense allegedly being sold online.
His personal experience must fuel that criticism.
Undoubtedly. He pushes this idea that sometimes authorities or media scapegoat hackers to deflect from their own negligence in protecting data. He's even questioned if publicly available data, like ID photos, might be misused to frame people.
And he's pretty blunt about the Uruguayan authorities.
Very blunt. He talks about the ignorance and incompetence of people deciding hackers' fates and the lack of lawyers who really understand cyber law.
So he paints a picture of a justice system struggling to keep up, maybe even getting it wrong sometimes.
That's his core narrative, systemic failure, where people like Vladdy might become scapegoats because the system itself is flawed. And honestly, when you hear about Gov.F getting into major systems using a test login with no 2FA...
Yeah, it makes you wonder. It lends some credibility to Hill's point about negligence being a factor.
It really does.
Hill's experience also raises those tricky ethical questions for security researchers, right? How do you report a flaw without ending up like he did initially?
Exactly. His work isn't just analysis, it feels like advocacy. He's pushing for reform, for a fairer, more tech-savvy justice system.
He even called on people to share an alternative take on a Gov.F video, trying to shape the narrative.
Yeah, he's actively trying to get people to question the official story.
Okay, so bringing it to the present, where do things stand with Gov.F now? There's that formal investigation in Uruguay after the TV Ciudad AI attack.
Yes, the Unidad de Delitos Informáticos is officially looking into it.
Uh,
But given Hill's criticisms about expertise and competence, you have to wonder how effective that investigation might be.
It's that catch me if you can vibe again. Gov.F acting untouchable, but Vladdy's arrest is a reminder that the law can catch up.
Precisely. There's bravado, maybe enjoyment of the notoriety, but the risk is real.
And the public reaction has been pretty significant.
Oh yeah. The Profil hack especially got a lot of attention, trended online. Major news outlets in both countries have covered it extensively.
Is there an upside? Could all this attention actually force organizations to tighten their security?
That's the potential silver lining, isn't it? It's possible. Argentina's government almost certainly had to review things after those December attacks. Sometimes these shocks, however damaging, do act as a wake-up call.
Fontevecchia's techno-vandalismo term for the Perfil hack. It captures the surface level, but we've seen there's more to it.
Much more. The ideology makes it transcend simple vandalism. This is about using hacking skills to push extremism, spread disinformation like those AI images, and incite hate.
The open embrace of Nazi ideology, the anti-Semitism, that potential Telegram channel. It's deeply concerning.
And Fontevecchia's point about all kinds of conspiracy theories really ties into that whole world of online radicalization, doesn't it? These far-right echo chambers where extremism gets normalized.
Gov.F feels like both a product of that environment and someone actively contributing to it, using hacking to amplify it.
Exactly. Using technical skills to give these hateful ideas a bigger, more disruptive platform.
So wrapping this up, Gov.F is this really tangled figure. Skilled hacker, sure, but driven by this strange brew of Fun, vague political statements, nihilism, and outright extremist ideology.
A very contradictory and troubling mix. And the whole case throws some major global issues into sharp relief.
Like how easy it can still be to exploit basic security flaws.
Right. And that dangerous combination of online extremism finding technical know-how, plus the real challenges law enforcement faces trying to deal with it all across borders.
Alberto Daniel Hill's voice here is just so important, isn't it? Constantly reminding us about needing better security, ethical ways to handle vulnerability disclosures, and a justice system that actually understands tech.
His counterpoint is crucial. He forces us to look at the system's failings too, not just the hackers' actions.
You could almost see gov.f as a symptom, maybe? A symptom of bigger problems like online radicalization trends and these persistent, widespread security weaknesses.
That's a really good way to put it. A symptom of larger systemic issues we're grappling with.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Think about that constant tension, the one between wanting anonymity online, valuing free speech, but also needing to prevent real harm, hate speech, disinformation, disruption.
Yeah, how do we balance those? Figures like gov.eth sitting at that messy intersection of tech, skill, and extreme ideology. They really force us to confront those difficult questions about the rules of our digital world. How do we navigate this?